Here we are in Morecambe then for the final round in the Screensport 1985 Pro Series. So far the riders have been out at Coxmoors, Norton Keynes, Milton Keynes, two at Nottingham and back up here for the final event. And there's quite a close-fought competition going on, and the third place man overall, Anthony Sewell, has had 3 second places and a 4th at Nottingham. He failed to score at Norton Keynes when he crashed, and today really he's got to wreak revenge on the rest, because above him we've got some pretty hard contestants. The man who's in 2nd place overall, the chap called Guest Shooter. He burst upon the scene last year, the professional rider, who has now really set amongst topping the heads. Going straight in to become British champion, he's now in there in 2nd place in the Screensport Championships. Can he win today? Well, this man will be out to stop him, because Andy Ruffell likes to be #1. For 3 years he was #1 as he went up through the age groups in BMX racing, and then last year as a superclass rider he took a #2 plate behind Tim Marsh, but now he's leading the Screensport series and he wants to stay on top. But he's only got 1 slender point separating him from Guest Shooter. So that's very tight for those two. We're watching each other like hawks today. No, that's not the Queen Mary that's been moored here at Morecambe. That in fact is the theatre. And later on, after the events are all over and done with, the presentations will take place for the lads taking part in the Pontins weekend of BMX, and also to the winners of the 1985 Screensport Pro Series. John Higginson, the local man, knows his track extremely well, but so far hasn't been able to use that knowledge to an advantage, and I don't think he's going to get through unless he can finish in 1st or 2nd place this time. Oh, there's Gary Llewellyn pulling down his pants. He's unzipped them at the back and just to cool off his legs. It's quite a warm, sunny day here, despite the fact it's October. We're having some of the best weather we've had all summer long. The rest of the riders want to get the racing underway, psychologically get themselves tuned up, and Shooter looking across to see where the opposition is. Llewellyn is certainly a man they've got to watch out for today. On the extreme left then, Pat Robinson, poised, waiting and ready for the starter's call. And the marshals out there with the yellow tabards on, their job to watch the action all the way round, because the close infight that goes on, everybody has to be careful that there's no fouling in this racing, but at the high speeds these lads go through, you can't afford to hook somebody, because that can be very dangerous indeed at the speeds, because this surface here today, with the sun baking down, is just like concrete. They're starting on a concrete ramp, then they hit the dusty start straight, and from then on it's eyeballs out. Who's going to get that effective hole shot? Oh, now, there's a little bit of trouble there on that gate, because a lot of sand has been brought up from the bottom of the track, and they're sweeping it away now, because if you don't get that sand away from the back wheel and shove the pedal down hard, it will skid, and then you'll lose those vital few lengths off the start hill. So, back again. That's very unnerving for the rest of the competitors, equally as much as it is for the man that's got the problem.
Time, lads. Ready, pedals ready, go!
Off the gate they go. Nobody slipped the back wheel. They're all lying across the track. And Gary Llewellyn in the centre of that one, hooks into Trevor Robinson, slows him down. And it's between Llewellyn and Anthony Sewell, but Sewell, I think he's going to get over the top. Yes, he has. And oh my goodness, nearly there. It was so close for Llewellyn as he ran in towards the back of Sewell. He stopped pedalling and his front wheel ran into the back wheel, but they both stayed upright. Round that tricky left-hander. The order then, as they go down that straight, it's Llewellyn. Up, somebody upended again. Well, at the back, that's curtains for some rider. We saw him go down, but at the front then, Llewellyn, Shooter and Sewell are hammering down the way toward the finish. And at the back, I think it was Neil Trevor that fell off, but no doubt about it, at the front then, that was a win for Anthony Sewell, and in 2nd place looked like Gary Llewellyn. We'll wait for the official result from the judges, and interest there to see who's got through into the final. Yes, Anthony Sewell 1st, Gary Llewellyn 2nd, Guest Shooter 3rd, and oh my goodness, there was Trevor Robinson and Pat Robinson 4th and 6th. They did that in the previous moto, and the first one they were 5th and 6th. Those two really have been going around like Batman and Boy Robin. So moving on to Group B for their 3rd moto. Tim Marsh and Andy Ruffell, though, here at Pontins Holiday Camp, could take a holiday from this one almost, because they've had 1st and 2nd twice on the trot now, whereas the battle is between Tony Holland and Mark White for who goes through into the final. There's Big Tim on the left-hand side. Ian Dixon hasn't got a chance now of getting through into the final. He's way down the point score. That's the chap on the right-hand side. And that's Mark White, then, who's got to finish around about 3rd in this moto to move through into the final. He had a 3rd place in the previous moto and a 6th place in the first one. Out then extreme left, Jamie Vince can't allow himself to slip too far back either. He's got to stop in the top half dozen. So there's a lot to go for this time. Tim Marsh and Andy Ruffle then are fairly happy to go through, providing they don't fall off. And it's Tony Holland, Jamie Vince and Mark White that we've got to watch out for, battling for those vital 3rd, 4th and 5th places. Tony Holland on the extreme right-hand side of the gate in the talker strip. Mark White near that gap on the left-hand side. Jamie Vince on the far left-hand side. Those are 3 to watch for. There they go! And Tim Marsh has made an extremely good start again. Is he going to triple this one? Because he's had 2 wins so far. This looks like he's heading for his 3rd moto win. That'll take him through into the final. And yet again, that's Andy Ruffle going to 2nd place. Well, these 2 riding 1st and 2nd, they're very good at this, and that means they'll go through into the final. But let's look at the back then for the battle. And Mark White's got to 3rd place. White's got to 3rd place, and Holland's after him. Holland knows he's got to get up alongside him, and Jamie Vince is behind them too. Jamie can't afford to fall. He's got to stay upright and ride into the finish now. As forgetting those 2 in the front, it's the 3, 4 and 5th place behind we've got to watch out for. There's Mark White stabbing a foot down. He's lost momentum, and Holland's after him, and Vince down the finishing straight. There's Marsh, there's Ruffle. Who's going to take 3rd and 4th? Well, I would not like to split that one up. That was so close. The judges have got to go down and decide that one and tell them who was 3rd and 4th, and they're going to wait anxiously for that result then. They really rode their hearts out down that finishing straight, did Mark White and Tony Holland. And the crowd here now are also anxiously awaiting, because there's a lot of local supporters for Tony Holland. Has he made it on his 1st ride? Yes, he has. Tony Holland got 3rd. That was oh so close, and I don't think Mark White's going to be very happy at all to be pushed back into 4th place, because he'd like to get amongst the cash. But Tony Holland's made it for the first time as a pro, in amongst the cash. Into the mains goes the bold lad from the talker squad. There's the lineup for the mains. 3 mains to be contested this afternoon. Anthony Sewell, Trevor Robinson, Jamie Vince, Gary Llewellyn, Andy Ruffle, Tony Holland, Tim Marsh and Guest Shooter. They'll be riding for 15 points for 1st place, 12 for 2nd, 10 for 3rd and so on down the line. On the extreme right-hand side there, Andy Ruffle is leading with 159 points overall. And in the lineup there, Gary Llewellyn and Tony Holland have not scored so far in this series because they're new pros up there on the start hill for the first time. Guest Shooter is the man who's hammering after Andy. He's got 158 points, 1 point behind Andy Ruffle. And with his head down there, Anthony Sewell is in 3rd place with 134 points. Well, he's got a lot of work to do to get into 1st place overall, but we've already seen this afternoon that if a rider has the misfortune to crash, then he can go from 1st to last place before he can say Jack Robinson, and that means losing a lot of valuable points. And there they are up on the gate for this 1st of the mains. The starter is ready, signalling now that the track is clear ahead of him. Wants to make a very good start 1st time round. Jamie Vince isn't quite ready though. There he is now, he's up. Just getting himself nice and comfy. On the extreme right-hand side, Andy Ruffle. On the extreme left-hand side, Tim Marsh. These 2 old arch enemies of BMX then. And off the start gate they go and down that 1st straight. On the far side, Marsh has made a good start, and so is Trevor Robinson. But it's Gary Llewellyn. I think he's coming into the lead now. No, Trevor Robinson. No, they changed places yet again. That was a good bit of riding by Llewellyn, who kept the pressure on all the way. I thought Trevor was going to take it into that sharp left-hander, but it's Gary Llewellyn that's leading him through. This new pro, hot on the scene. Well, he took 3 first on the trot when he's down there in Lowestoft, and right at the back is another young pro, suddenly learning his lessons the hard way. Tony Holland just couldn't stay the pace. He's dropped back overall, and somebody else has come on too. It looks like Jamie Vince has gone down, so Tony Holland isn't going to be last. But at the front, it's Gary Llewellyn being first for the first time in the Screensport series, where a very disconsolate Jamie Vince has now got up from that sharp right-hander where he came off. He doesn't look too badly hurt. The St John Ambulance people have handed him back his bicycle, and he's got to now go the lone ride down into the finish box to collect his points of being 8th. A bit of mechanicking before he sets off. But he isn't hurt, he's just shaking his head, and Jamie, who won that Skoda car at Nottingham, won't be happy with his 8th place in that 1st of the main. So let's go now and just check the overall results of the 1st one, because that really significant ride by Gary Llewellyn puts him in there with 15 points, 1st time out on the track. That's an extremely good start for this man, and that proves that he's got something to show the rest of these riders, that he's got a clean pair of wheels. Tim Marsh in 2nd place, Anthony Sewell 3rd, but look there in 5th and 6th. That's Andy Ruffle and Guest Shooter, still stuck together, so still that 1 point separating those 2 now, and Andrew has helped himself to another one to take him forward now with a couple of points ahead of Guest Shooter. The battle is still on. This is the 2nd of the mains. Now, can anybody get past that man Llewellyn? Off the gate they go now, and they're all across the track yet again, shoulder to shoulder, as they head over that first little tiny speed jump on the inside. It's Guest Shooter. Oh, he's hooked himself right underneath Gary Llewellyn, and they've gone down, crash bang wallop. The first aid rushing to their attention, leaving Tim Marsh in the lead. Marsh has got a good lead now. He's going to win 2 on the track. Oh, he's got as well. His feet have come off the pedals, and Marsh has done a superb endo. He hasn't hurt himself, but he's now way back there. And he has no chance of getting up those 2 leaders as Anthony Sewell and Andy Ruffles set off into distance. And nobody's going to get amongst these 2 now. That really was a turn-up for the books as Marsh on the far side of the track has got himself way back in something like 7th place, 6th place I think it was. But these 2, first and second over the line, have taken the top scores and the major points, and that will upset Guest Shooter. He needed to be with Andy Ruffle, and now he's going to be right at the back of this race, and that's going to put him out the reckoning for sure. And race announcer there, Tony Hoffman, stopping him as he goes through to have a few words with him for the benefit of the crowd who were hoping that perhaps Geth could have come through and challenged Andy Ruffle. And there, the new rookie pro, after the win in the first of the mains now, has had to push his bike in. And bad luck to Guest Shooter, because he was really keen to try and topple Andy from the top slot. So we'll have to check now to see what the results were overall, because there are the point scores. Andy Ruffle taking 12 points for his second place, and Guest Shooter right back was given 8th place, giving only 5 points. So that really has split it, and at this rate there's no way that Guest Shooter can topple Andy Ruffle from being the Screensport 1985 Pro Series champion winner.
Well, Geth, you seem to have wiped out your chances there.
Yeah, it's all down to this last race really, but I've blown it now, so.
Well, the crowd look happy with the day's racing, although some disappointment in there for the Guest Shooter supporter club who did want to see their man in his first year as a pro come out on top. This man has been on top for a long time as a pro. He's now acknowledging the applause of the crowd because Anthony Sewell has been twice a #1 plate holder in the American Series. He's been racing now for some 12 years, 7 of them as a professional, and all the way over from California, enjoying the sunshine, as is Andy Ruffle. Andy then, who last year was second place behind Tim Marsh, now looks like he's going to topple the bold Tim, who hasn't scored enough points in the Screensport Series to worry Andy. This man riding for the first time too, Tony Holland, is only in here now for the cash today, and I'm sure he's going to be pleased with taking home some checks, because this is the first time he's ridden amongst the cash ranks, and first time out it's good to take home the lolly. Tim Marsh waving to the crowd. We just had on the right hand side Jamie Vince, who won that lovely car down at Nottingham, and Tim Marsh, who's really out to try and win today's racing, but that misfortune, that crash, has taken him out of the opportunity of collecting the maximum points. Guest Shooter also crashed, as did Gary Llewellyn. So we've got 3 together here who seem to have had difficulty staying upright. And so that's eliminated them really from any chance of winning today's racing. Trevor Robinson, big strong Trevor, he usually stays out of trouble. In fact, he's so solid, if anybody hits him, they usually bounce off. They call him Mr. Muscles because he trains with weights, and he's very strong and very fit and very fast indeed. So Big Trev, perhaps it's a chance for him to win the final event of the series. So they'd all like that glory, that honour, to take the final main in the Pro Screensport Series 1985. The officials there on the track now clearing the way and making sure that all the spectators can get a very good view of this final event. A lot of scores to be settled out there still, because Anthony Sewell would like to win this one and run out as winner of the final series. Andy Ruffle has got to stay upright and get in the top 3 places. If he falls off, of course, and Guest Shooter wins, then the thing could change course, but that is not the way that Andy rides. He's smooth, he's fast, he's quick, but he's getting boxed. Andy Ruffle's been boxed in the middle there, and looks like Anthony Sewell cut in front of him, but Andy stayed out of trouble. Oh no! Oh, Gary Llewellyn's gone. That's very unfortunate for Gary. He's looped the loop now, and again the St John people had to go to him, and he's lying out on the track while screaming away at the front. It's Guest Shooter, who had a crash in the last of the mains. He's now showing that he could have been in there as the overall winner if only he hadn't have fallen off, because he clashed with Llewellyn in the second of the mains, and now he stayed out of harm's way, and he's up there in the front, and he can see the finish line. It's Guest Shooter powering on down toward that finish, being chased home by Anthony Sewell, looking over his shoulder. Shooter takes first place, Sewell was in second, and I think way back there in 3rd place, or was it 4th, was Andy Ruffle, so he looks like he's probably got enough points to get the championship. But no more points then for Gary Llewellyn. He really has hurt his foot. He looks like he's done some harm there. They've taken his shoe off, and Gary now is going to be lifted onto that stretcher. He certainly can't walk, but let's go back to the official result. Guest Shooter first, Anthony Sewell in second place, Jamie Vince in third, and Gary Llewellyn back in 8th place, collected 5 points. And quick check at the points, that means today he's finished overall in 13th place in the series. So bad luck for Gary, 13th overall on his first outing on the Screensport series. But for Anthony Saul, second place was enough to give him 37 points to win on the day, with Andy Ruffle back in second with 29 points and guest shooter third with 27 points.
Anthony, congratulations, overall winner on the day.
Thank you.
That last moto was pretty tough, you had to win it.
Yes, it was. It was a good thing for a good position, and a little lucky to draw.
And there are the points that Andy collected to win this prestigious title, 188 in all. He was 3 points ahead of guest shooter, who took second place. Andy Nissaul was in third with 171 points, and consistent Trevor Robinson collected 156 points to finish in 4th place.